Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. That's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome, everybody, to the Hockey Think Tank podcast, brought to you by the Hockey Think Tank community, a place for all passionate players, parents, and coaches to go to get a little bit of education and a little bit of inspiration regarding the greatest game on the planet. What an episode we have for you guys here today. We are bringing on the GM of North Dakota, Bryn Chyzyk. What an awesome conversation this was. Bryn grew up in Verdun, Manitoba, played his college hockey at the University of North Dakota, won a national championship there. He played a little bit of pro and then went, and he was previously for 5 years the general manager of the Waterloo Blackhawks in the USHL. Extremely successful there, won GM of the year, and now he's going back to his alma mater to be GM and coach. What an awesome conversation. What a great hockey guy. So pumped to have him on. But before we do get over to Bryn, let's bring on the talent of the podcast. One Jeffrey GM Lavecchio. Vex, what's up today, brother?
Just living, dude. Just, in the mid-summer grind here with the boys every day, getting everybody better. Lots of guys going to junior camp, so that's a fun time too. Guys coming back saying they made, it's so different too. Like, you made the training camp roster. Like when we played, it was like you made the team in tryouts. Now they do like I made the 30-man. I'm like, how hard must that be for the rest of hockey? Like midgets on down. How do you plan a midget team when you don't know how many guys are coming back or not? Like it's really interesting. It's tough, but it's a fun time of year.
Well, part of the reason why USA Hockey made the rule of now the limit is 22 on a midget roster, and not 20, just because of all of that uncertainty with junior hockey, particularly at the 18 level for sure.
Right.
But yeah, this is it's go time for you, man. This is your playoffs, and the Florida Panthers just won the Stanley Cup. Congratulations to a couple guys, Mackie Samoskevich, who I had in Michigan, and Braden Birch, who kind of runs their cap in the in the management department. Two awesome guys. I had Birchie at Cornell when I was a coach there, and couldn't be happier for them. And man, what a playoffs. And the Panthers, just like what a team, man. What a team. And honestly, it actually dovetails really well into having Bryn on the podcast, because he's such like a hardworking blue collar team guy. And that's kind of like the identity there at North Dakota that they've had in winning their championships and stuff. And man, that was the Panthers to a T. Like, you want to win, you got to have depth, you got to have culture. Your top guys got to be dogs, and which they have. All their top guys are like competitive two-way guys. And then also when you have Bobrovsky in the net, that helps too. But like, man, what a playoffs. Congrats to Florida. Unreal.
Amazing. Like the way that they play is just the way, like, I don't know. I feel like we were like taught to play, just hard-nosed hockey. Like you said, depth, best players are the dogs. Best players are absolute dogs. And if your best players are going to be dogs, the rest of the guys are going to follow.
Yeah, 100%. And it's so much fun to watch. And it's also really fun for me. I'm a big culture guy, right? Like I love teaching culture. I love working with teams, and I've done it so much. And like, for me, listening to the conversations afterwards about like the culture and about certain things, that one of the coolest things for me was watching them when they won the cup and Barkov lifts it as the captain. They didn't go by seniority, which is typically what happens. They handed the cup to everybody who hadn't won it yet. So it didn't matter if you were a rookie, didn't matter if you were a black ace, whether you were one of the top guys or one of the like they wanted everybody to have their moment who hadn't had that moment yet. And that's just, again, Maurice has said it a lot in his press conferences. This team, like the guys are just different. They're just different. And it just really, really cool. Like I remember he was talking about, when he got the job and he had a conversation with Carter Verhaeghe. Carter Verhaeghe, one of the top players on the team as well. Same thing, just a dog. And in the conversation, all Verhaeghe could talk about was the other players on the team and how awesome they were as guys, how awesome they were as players. And just in the interview, just they're just different. And culture wins, man. Like you obviously got to have the depth and the talent and all that, but without that piece, doesn't happen. So just really, really happy for them again. It's so hard to win it twice in a row. So hard to win it twice in a row. And the fact that they did it and the teams that they beat to do it too, you're talking about Tampa, Toronto, Carolina, Edmonton and McDavid. I mean, just they were a team. It was awesome.
Amazing. Yeah. And I mean, just think about how deep you have to go to win the Stanley Cup into the summer. And then what that does for the rest of your summer. Like you're training for like a month. It's like month and a half because you gotta have some downtime. You're gonna have all the celebrations for at least a week, and a
lot of guys are hurt, and they're not going to be able to train right away.
Up, so you get like so then to be able to do it 2 years in a row. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, 100%. And kind of going to the conversation that we had with Bryn. I feel like the Panthers and like that's what he's about, man. Like, and just a really, really good hockey dude, has done a really, really good job since he's gotten into the game in his post-playing career. And I think there's a lot of really good stuff in this conversation on culture, on identity, and obviously the college hockey landscape has changed a lot over the past couple of years. So we get into some of that too. But just for any coach or any leader out there, I think this is a great conversation. And for anybody that loves college hockey, it's a great conversation as well. This is a really successful dude who's done a great job, and I think he's going to absolutely kill it. They're already, dude, on the recruiting trail, absolutely crushing it. And so, yeah, I'm really looking forward to everybody hearing this conversation. But before we do get over to Bryn, let's bring on our sponsors, the people who we need to thank. First and foremost, icehockeysystems.com, the best website out there for all of your coaching education needs. They got thousands of drills. They got whiteboard explanations and video breakdowns from really high level hockey people. And then they have the ability to go in and drop your drills digitally and send them out to your players before practice, print them out, put them up on the boards. And we have partnered with them to do an associations platform where you can get this for every single club or every single coach, in your organization. So go to icehockeysystems.com today and check it out.
I want to say thank you to Train Heroic. You guys know Train Heroic is the unbelievable app that I am able to deliver so much training value to teams of all levels, NCAA D1, NCAA D3, USHL, NOL, all the way down to house league teams of youth players that want to have their players engaged and doing something at home. With every team I work with, you also get free monthly Zoom calls. And I have teams sign up for those all the time to do those outside of training, and those cost money. This is part of working with me on Train Heroic. So just a massive thank you to Train Heroic for helping me help way more hockey players worldwide.
Help me help you, Rod.
Help me help you.
Also want to thank Helios Hockey, one of the best products out there. It is a sensor that you put into your shoulder pad and gives you real-time data, real-time feedback on your play, but specifically what the kids love in a hustle score. And also it's really big on helping you with your stride length, stride mechanics. And you want to play in today's game, you got to be able to skate, man. Got to be able to skate. And so this is such a value add in so many ways. one of the biggest value adds is it syncs up with your video, whether it's Live Barn, whether it's a camera that you have with your phone or your iPad, syncs right up, and you can get your shifts cut up for you after your game. And it's just such a time saver, such a huge value add. Go to helioshockey.com today and get 20% off your pro annual or pro 24-month subscription by using the coupon code Think Tank, one word, or you can go to helioshockey.com/teams and get this at a discounted rate for your entire team. Helios Hockey, unbelievable dudes and unbelievable product. Also want to thank Crossbar. Crossbar is an end-to-end software solution to help you streamline your operations for your youth hockey organization. I know a lot of different hockey directors that have switched from some of the bigger box type software solutions to Crossbar, and they've been very, very happy that they did. Some of the things that they do a really good job of, it's just a really easy to use and good looking website design. You can do registration from your big picture season type stuff to your smaller drop-ins, clinics, and lessons. There's a club scheduler and 5-star communication app, which can help you to communicate with your families. Also tools on there for financial reporting, volunteer and facility management. Guys, this is a one-stop shop to make your life easier for your youth organization. So go to crossbar.org today and check that out. And thank you to all of our amazing listeners. We love you guys, and continue to grind out this podcast, especially Vex in crazy grind season right now. And if you can, for us, the only thing that we ask for in return to help to spread the word, if you like what we're doing, is if you can interact with our podcast in whatever way possible by, liking it, commenting on it, reading, shooting a rating or a review on your podcast app, downloading us, subscribing to us, all that kind of stuff goes a long way to helping us to grow and to get into more ears. So we would appreciate that if you could do that for us. But we appreciate you guys. You guys are going to love this conversation here today. So without further ado, here we go with the general manager for North Dakota in college hockey, Bryn Chyzyk. We are so excited to have on this episode of the podcast, Where's Waldo? It's the USHL tryout camp tour, but he took some time to speak with us here today. We got the new GM of the North Dakota Fighting Hawks, Bryn Chyzyk. Bryn, how are we doing today, man?
I'm doing good. Pumped to get out of the car and chat with you guys for a bit before getting back in the rink.
I love it. Well, yeah, we appreciate your time. And as always, want to start off with how you fell in love with the game. You grew up in Verdon, Manitoba. And there's actually been some people that come through Verdon before that have had some pretty good careers. But what was it that got you to fall in love with this great game of hockey?
Yeah, I think small town Canada, you really don't have a choice of whether or not you're going to fall in love with it, right? It's kind of communities obviously surrounds hockey, and just as a young kid getting on the ice and being around your buddies, it's kind of what everyone does, right? So from a very young age, you're just kind of ingrained in it. And like I said, I really felt like I didn't really have a choice.
Hey, whatever. You're still in the game now today, so it worked out for the best. Talk a little bit about growing up in small town Canada. It was funny. I was having a conversation with somebody at USA Hockey yesterday, and they were almost like lamenting on like, man, there's not a ton of just like small town anymore. It feels like so many kids are coming from big cities, or they're moving away from their small towns, at earlier and earlier ages to go to some of these bigger cities or academies and stuff. Can you talk a little bit about just what the experience was like growing up there in Verdon and how it kind of shaped you and shaped your hockey career?
Yeah, and I actually think about that a lot now, and the kids that I watch and how unique my upbringing was in such a small town, right? Like you had to play every sport, like all the way through high school, right? Whether it was basketball, soccer, volleyball is a big sport in Manitoba. So like just to keep the community sports going, you kind of have to play all the sports, which was such a luxury for me as a young kid. Now, kind of partner that with just open ice. Like there's an outdoor rink that's full all the time in the small town, right? And sticks and pucks is always available. So just so unique to be 5 minutes away from all of that, a 5-minute drive, right? So it was such a great kind of culture and town to grow up in, where you had everything just so quick and easily accessible. So very unique spot to grow up, but kind of shaped me to who I am today. So I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I love that. And I just like, I feel for kids who don't get that experience anymore, and we talk a lot of youth hockey on here, and it's become almost the opposite, where it's such a business at such a young age, and you miss out on some of those times where you're developing that love for the game in that unstructured environment. And yeah, it's pretty wild. But your career, it took you down here to the States, the college route, and from a small town up in Manitoba, I have to imagine that you grew up kind of understanding more about the WHL and Major Junior. What was it that got you down here to the States and going the college route rather than going Major Junior?
Yeah, and I'm probably a unique example of that because you talked about the craziness in minor hockey. Well, there was never any decision for me on where I was playing youth hockey.
Yeah.
It was for the hometown. Like, there wasn't decisions for me, right? And I was a really late bloomer, as far as like not even sometimes making the top team in a town of 3,000. So like the WHL draft was not a thing for me. I wasn't even close to being selected. And I didn't really hit my growth spurt until I was about 18 years old. And I finally got invited to my first WHL camp. And I actually got the chance to sit with Kelly McCrimmon. It was the Brandon Wheat Kings camp. And he kind of even told me at the end, he said, listen, like, your development path does not fit the Western Hockey League. Like, you're built for college, just the path you're on. So I didn't really make that decision. It got made for me. But certainly very fortunate that I guess I was never good enough to play at 16-7 in the Western Hockey League, because now my whole world is down here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 100%. It's dude, there's a different path for everyone, and it's got to be a really unique experience for you, getting into the USHL, the junior level, and doing the drafts and just seeing kids kind of matriculate from when they're 15 years old till they're done with the USHL, and then what they do after, and now working in the college game, you'll get that same kind of experience and seeing that trajectory. Can you talk a little bit about that in your role? You're the GM of North Dakota now, putting that roster together. You put the roster together for Waterloo really, really well for the past 4 or 5 years. Like, for all the kids that are kind of listening, because we got a lot of kids that listen, like, can you talk a little bit to that? There's not one right path, and there's kind of a path for everybody. You're obviously sitting here talking about, I'm living proof of that. But just, I think it'd be great to hear from someone like you on that.
Yeah, and it's been such a large piece of the USHL framework of, the different ages of entry points of players. And like, we always looked at like 19-year-old rookies or 18-year-old rookies in the USHL as some of the most valuable assets. You can get a good older player that's breaking in, often that's played U18 AAA hockey. And I know that's not a very appealing thing for kids these days, is to play U18 AAA. But some of our most successful leaders and players in Waterloo played U18. We look at our Clark Cup run we just had, and Reed Morick, who played for the Pittsburgh Pens Elite U18, and Grady Deering, who played for the Mission U18, two later developing guys that ended up being some of our best players in the end. And I think that what's made the USHL so unique is you have obviously the 16-year-old tenders, and there's guys on that path, right? But sometimes they're lined up a guy that, was not a futures draft pick that came through the phase 2 portion and is just hitting his stride at 19. And the USHL is a great example of that, of just the different timelines everyone's on and how everyone gets to different spots at different times. And that's not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing if you're hitting it a little bit later, in my opinion.
Why would it be a good thing hitting it a little bit later?
Well, I guess I'll reference my own development as a player, and then we got to stop talking about my career because it's fairly underwhelming. But like, I kind of learned to play the game at a disadvantage from a strength. And, if you're a late developing kid or a late growing kid, you, during that ages 13 through 16, you're playing at a disadvantage, and you have to learn the game that way. And then when your body grows and you get physically more mature, you're like, hang on a sec. I've been battling uphill this whole time, and now I'm on an even playing field. Like, let's go. Right. And I think, if you look at it the other way of an early developer, early grower that, accelerates at a young age, they don't have that, and they're used to being on top. So I think just it makes you a little bit hungrier along with the late growing. It just creates success, in my opinion.
Love that. I had a guy in the gym the other day we were talking about, was it Pedersen or who was it, like 5-6 years ago, who couldn't do one pull up at the combine? And I remember, you're like, probably a couple guys, but I remember a bunch of, older guys being like, this guy's embarrassing. Like, he can't even do a pull up. I was like, yeah, but hold on. they're saying he's going to be a first rounder and he's this good and he can't do a pull up. How good is he going to be when he gets strong and they get their hands on him? As I think about the other way. Now, that's not saying don't work out and just hope that happens. That's not how it works. He's that good and he couldn't even do a pull up. Now, how good is he going to be when we put some muscle on his frame type of thing? And you know, parents who have quote unquote late bloomers, you know, we don't like that term on this podcast. We just like the term normal bloomers, just straight up normal. Everyone's path is different. But if you're speaking to your child and they are smaller, you can't use that as a crutch. Topes talked about how his parents talked to him all the time. They never let him use his size as a crutch. When he got cut and they said, hey, you didn't make Team USA because it's your size. No, you're not. Okay, now what? Now what are you going to do? You've got to find a way around this if you want to keep going up. And that's something that, you know, we on this podcast are always trying to get that message across. You want to be good at something. It's going to be hard. Everybody's got their battles they have to fight. This is yours. Find a way type of thing.
For sure. And just, I have to go back to you on the pull-up thing. One of the guys that could not do a pull-up was Sam Bennett, who right now is probably the biggest beast physically in the NHL playoffs.
Right.
But I just wanted to go back to that because I was just talking about that the other day, but completely agree. Everyone's going to have their disadvantages, if you will, and you just got to find a way.
100%. It's almost like you referenced it, and we talk about that a lot, how it's like, it can be an advantage to not be in the guide right away and having to figure out how to play the game, because at the highest levels, you have to figure out how to play the game, the ins and outs, you know, in the hockey sense and things like that. And the disadvantage it could be to be an early mature, because you're getting rewarded for being bigger, faster, stronger, and skating in a straight line than everybody else. And then everybody catches up and it's like, oh crap, I didn't learn how to play hockey. So I love that you said that.
Nobody does selling better than Shopify. Shopify is the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret, with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts go abandoned and way more sales going through. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period for 3 months at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1. Most people don't realize how much of their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions pulling details about you from public records and the internet, then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might just sell credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it together at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/secure. Protect yourself now at aura.com/secure.
The secret is out. With millions of younger-looking customers across the country, Plexiderm is one of the most highly sought-after products on the market. It visibly shrinks under-eye bags and smooths out crow's feet in minutes, and the effects last up to 10 hours. Influencers love it, magazines feature it, and people just can't get enough of it. As a matter of fact, Elle Magazine gave it an Editor's Choice Award as Best Instant Wrinkle Filler for 2025. In as little as 10 minutes, Plexiderm reduces the appearance of fine lines, wrinkles, and those dreaded under-eye bags. So yes, you can look years younger in minutes, and the effects last for hours. No surgery, no gimmicks, just results. The best news, you can try Plexiderm for only $14.95. Plus, get free shipping. Don't wait. Order Plexiderm today. Visit plexiderm.com/special. That's plexiderm.com/special. Paid for by Sheer Science.
All right. So now I want to get to North Dakota, because you go down to North Dakota. It's one of the most storied programs in college hockey, one of the best rinks, one of the best atmospheres in college hockey outside of Cornell. Thank you very much. Yeah, go ahead, Vex. Get it in there.
And Western Michigan. Thank you very much.
But you go down to North Dakota and you win a national championship in your senior year. And man, like, to win a national championship has to be one of the coolest feelings in the entire world. I mean, Vex, you lived it as an alum this summer, but you did it especially in your senior year. So the question I have for you, I guess it's a two-parter. Number one, like, describe to me a little bit what it's like to play at North Dakota, because it is such a storied program. And then number two, what was it about that group? What was it about that team? The chemistry, the nest that we like to call it, that allowed you guys to be so successful?
God, I got so fired up about the second question. What was the first one again?
Actually, just do the second question, man, just because it's probably going to answer the first one, which was what it was like to play in North Dakota. But like, talk to me about that championship team, and I've been close. I made a Frozen Four as a coach. I've been to the NCAA tournament a number of times, been really close to the Elite Eight 4 times, I think. It's really freaking hard to win a national championship and what it takes to get there. So just talk about what that team was like and what that journey was like to win that.
Yeah, and I think speaking for all North Dakota groups, I feel like, historically been a really tight bunch of guys, right? But I think that year where there was another level of how close we were off the ice. Every second when we were away from the rink, we wanted to be together. We wanted to be hanging out, and we had a lot of fun. As reality, we had a lot of fun off the ice. And I think the cool thing about that group is we had so much fun off the ice being together. And when the practice lights flipped on or the game lights flipped on, our eyes kind of rolled in the back of our heads and we got a little crazy, right? That we got competitive. There was a lot of competitive personalities on that team, which even with each other, we were buddy and have a great time off the ice. But when we stepped into the ring or stepped into the gym, like, we were animals to each other and to the opponents, right? So I think that just created such a unique blend. And we had a really, in that blend, we had some first-round picks like Nick Schmaltz and Brock Besser, and then we had also a nice blend of pluggers like me and some other guys that, took more of the savage approach and were workers in the gym and workers on the ice. And I think we probably pulled those guys along from the effort and competitive standpoint. And those guys obviously carried us a little bit more on the skill end. And it just created a really fun dynamic of, this hardcore culture, but also enough skill to kind of make the plays at the end of the day.
Love that, man. It takes a village. You need everybody.
For sure.
Need everybody to win.
I think everyone felt a part of it too. Like, that was the unique thing. I think guys embraced kind of the roles and where they were at and knew what other guys did well. And just everyone was pulling on the same rope kind of thing.
How do you feel like, and you mentioned, you guys had a lot of fun off the ice. You did a lot of stuff together, but like, what else did you guys do? I mean, was it just recruiting great dudes? Is it specific things that you did, off the ice together? Is it the way you competed against each other in practice? Like, I don't think you can win a national championship at the Division I level without being a 10 out of 10 as far as loving each other and tightness. So how do you feel like you develop that? And even, now that you're the GM, is that something that you're thinking about as you're recruiting kids to come to be a part of the program and wear that logo and carry on that tradition as well?
Yeah. And I think I'll probably reference kind of, obviously when Dane Jackson stepped up and through the interview process when he decided to bring me on staff, like, we're talking about this stuff all the time right now, right? And like, what are we looking for? What are we looking at identifying? And I think Coach Jackson, we kind of went through and we referenced a lot of the North Dakota's best players over the history, right? And a lot of guys off that team as well. It's like, what qualities did they have and how did that fit in to win a championship, right? And I think the one thing is, like, it starts with how the kid was raised, his upbringing and kind of that, like, when you come on an official visit, shaking your hand and looking you in the eye, like being a good straight up dude, right? But then it kind of shifts into that competitive nature when you get on the ice. And we talked about how everyone's a little bit different like that from a playing standpoint. Obviously, you have your skill guys, right? And they show that competitive juice in different ways. Like Nick Schmaltz, for example, like, I don't know if his heart rate ever gets extremely high, but when he's on the ping pong table or on the sheet, like he wants the puck on his stick, right? And that's a unique way of competitiveness. Meanwhile, we had some other guys like Steph Patton, who was our captain back then, and Gage Osmus, another captain, that, you know, were more physically competitive, right? In your face throwing body. But every single guy that's been an impactful guy at North Dakota kind of flips that switch where, hey, great guy to sit and have dinner with, great guy to sit and have a drink with if you're a little bit older. But then when you get in the competition, kind of gets a little bit nutty. So I think that's kind of a unique thing that we reference at North Dakota when we're trying to build up what players we're looking for moving forward.
I love that. And I've kind of said on the podcast, like if I were to ever get back into a role like that in college hockey or otherwise, like I would never recruit another kid that didn't have an elite compete level. Just wouldn't do it. And for me, a big part of that too is like I kind of equate compete with passion and love for the game. Like how many people do you know that don't compete that really love the game? You know, not many, but the kids who really compete, there's a few that don't love it. They're just wired that way. But most they love the game. And when you love the game, you're going to work at it. When you work at it, you're going to get better. And now you're going to have a senior that's way better than they were as a freshman. And that's a great recruit. It doesn't matter how talented they are. And so like, the passion side of it. And that's something that I, on the outside, always loved about North Dakota. Was it always seemed like it was a freaking passionate hockey playing group of dudes that love the game and will chew your freaking leg off to win. That's from the outside looking in, and you live that. Like you lived that for 4 years. Now you're living it again. And so would you say that my kind of thought process of North Dakota is that on par with what you hope it to be?
Yeah, I think you're spot on. And I think like, as we chat as a staff about recruiting, right? Like it kind of sorts itself out, right? Like you don't come to Grand Forks, North Dakota if you're looking for certain things as a college athlete, right? If you're ready to if you want to be a hockey player and you want to be in the rink every day grinding and hanging out with your buddies, like it's a great fit for you, but it's not for everyone, right? So like how you described it, I think in going through the recruiting process with the staff, like it does kind of picture players for you a little bit and which guys are drawn to that.
Yeah, I love that. We'll talk a little bit too about, you know, one of the first things that you said was we're looking at how they were raised. We're looking at how they were raised, and when they come on a visit, do they shake your hand and look you in the eye and things like that? And, you know, you probably got a really huge dose of that just being a GM in the USHL with the draft and how many kids you need to meet and how many families you need to meet. But, you know, I know from my education as an assistant coach, there were families that came into Shafe's office at Cornell, and right afterwards he was like, nope, not recruiting that kid. Or kids that come into the office that were kind of so on, and then all of a sudden we meet mom and dad and the family and we're like, okay, we need to take a much better look at this kid because this family is unbelievable. Can you talk a little bit about just kind of like the research that you've done, you know, whether it was being a USHL GM or now the GM at North Dakota, on mom and dad, the family, the upbringing and things like that?
Yeah, it's probably something that actually in the USHL I learned the importance of. I think at the start of my tenure in Waterloo, I probably, you know, in interviewing and talking to kids, I was kind of just like, yeah, you know what? He's a young 15-year-old kid. I'm not going to hold him to on a 5-minute conversation on how he acts. But when I went back and looked at some of our best players and how they handled those conversations with a mature approach and being able to hold a conversation, I think there was a direct correlation in their success as a junior hockey player. So I think we kind of altered that in Waterloo as we went and took way more stock into those conversations of how kids can interact and communicate with adults, I guess. So I guess I put more emphasis and value on that in my time in Waterloo as I kind of went on.
I love that. Parents, I hope you just heard that, because, you know, I train a lot of teenagers, and if somebody's mom or dad is texting me and they're maybe 13, maybe not yet, depending on, you know, the family and the kid, 15, it better not be mommy and daddy texting me, especially because I'm working with the higher level guys who have aspirations to play junior hockey, college hockey, pro hockey. And that's a learning process, but I have to say to the parents, hey, okay, but now your son is old enough. I want him communicating with me. It's up to him to let me know that he's going to miss a workout and ask me what he needs to do to make it up. Not you. Okay. This is your son needs to be doing this. So mom and dad, just a good lesson here, because those types of things that they practice when they're 13, 14, 15, 16, before they leave home to get to junior hockey, or they're about to go play junior hockey, what you're having them do and not do is going to help them with these conversations that we have, or the most prestigious Division I universities GMs right now. And he's telling you from his own mouth things that he takes stock in. Can a kid answer questions? Can they hold a conversation? Because we know when they're away from you, if they can't do that, it's probably going to be harder for them right away. So learning lesson there. Message.
Message. All right. So I got to ask you this, going back to your national championship team here. So you win the national championship in 2016 as a senior at North Dakota. North Dakota fans are incredible. You guys packed a Ralph there. It's a beautiful stadium, and it's just a rowdy group of people. Talk about like what it was like to bring a national championship back to Grand Forks and what it meant to the town there.
Yeah. Special. I kind of remember that night thinking to myself, like, is it ever going to get better than this right now? Like, is this as high as my mountain goes? Because that's how kind of special it was. I mean, they're so passionate, the fans at North Dakota. The whole community is bought into the team's season and the ups and downs and whatever else. And that goes with the good but the bad. When you win, it's the greatest thing ever. When you're losing, they're hard on you, right? And I just actually chatted with somebody that we have some slogans on our walls that say pressure is a privilege, and it couldn't be more accurate for North Dakota, right? Like, you don't get that feeling in winning a national title without going through, hey, the power play sucked last night. People know about that, right? Like, people care about that, and that's part of it, right? So going back to your question of winning there, unbelievable. I don't think anything can quite replicate that for me, just with how tight that community is and how special all the history is. It was a cool feeling.
I can't even imagine. That's so cool, man. I even just like listening to you and seeing you across the screen here, like your face, just like you just still like in that moment. You can tell that like it just brings you back, and just, yeah, especially in a place like North Dakota, like you mentioned, where it matters. It matters to people there, and it matters to the team, and you feel it when you lose a little bit more in places like that than maybe in other places where hockey isn't as big of a deal. And to feel those great feelings, you got to go through some tough stuff, man. Like you got to go through some tough stuff, and just kind of going through that journey from the ups and the downs and the twists and the turns along the way. And then to do it again, like with a group of guys that were that tight. Yeah, I don't know if there can be anything better.
No, yeah, and I actually just got back. We have our kind of from that championship era, we have a group of 16 to 20 guys that go on a trip every year, and we go golf somewhere warm. And, I think it's 10 years now, or getting close. We're all getting old, but, championship teams stay together like that. It's just such a unique thing. Like, I'm sure if it wasn't for that, it'd be harder to get guys in, but every year we kind of make an effort and tell stories, and it's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah,
that's what it's about. That is amazing. That must be a really fun trip.
Oh, yeah. Definitely some fun had on that one over the years.
I love it. Well, I want to go back to something else, because, when you and I were kind of introduced to each other and had our first couple conversations was when you were a GM in Waterloo, and I was coaching midget hockey in Chicago. And I'll never forget the conversation, because, Vex and I talk about it. Like, sometimes you have conversations with people and you're like, man, this freaking guy just gets it. Like, he just gets it. And you called me about one of my players who was under the radar type player. And I was kind of sitting there like, I was new to the team and didn't know everybody, but I'm like, this kid's freaking good. This kid's really good. And it just goes back to our conversation about character a little bit earlier. Like, we're on the phone and you're asking me about this player, and I would say maybe 15% of the questions were about his hockey playing ability. And the other 85% of the questions were about the kid and what's he like in the locker room and the family and all the things that we had just talked about. And I just, you're putting together a team in North Dakota. and at North Dakota, and you guys have been killing it on the recruiting trail recently. But like, how, when you're putting together a team, do you balance the talent, the skill with the character, the leadership? Is that something that like you have to balance, or is that are those non-negotiable things that it's like, if they don't have X, Y, or we're not taking them? So like, talk to me a little bit about your player evaluation process and your roster building process, about like talent, character, how those two intertwine, and how you're trying to build what you're building.
For sure. And I guess I'll start by referencing, like, obviously the GM title is like a unique thing that's kind of new in college hockey, right? But, we're still like a normal college hockey staff where all four of us are very involved in recruiting. And I think like the title designates that, I'm on the road more, focused throughout the year, but especially in the off season. And, you talk about Coach Dane Jackson, like he's been an associate coach and a very good recruiter for a long time. And right now I'm having a tough time getting him off the mound. He just runs, he's running wild, and he probably deserves a lot of the credit for the big guys we've just received, but that's the fun part about our staff. But I think in talking about our conversations, like, I think there is non-negotiables. And I think, going back to that, where I started about, the upbringing of the kid, the looking you in the eye, being a good dude, along with that competitive side, that competitive nature, and the guys that want to work every single day, like those are the non-negotiables. And then from there, you have to branch off and grab different skill sets, right? You have to have skill guys that fit under that umbrella. You have to have skaters and workers and some guys that are maybe a little bit more grinder focused underneath that umbrella. But I think in starting that as our identity, and listening to Coach Jackson talk about how he wants to coach, right? Those kind of being the qualities you look for first. And I think you mentioned leadership. I would say leadership is probably more in that second umbrella, because not everyone needs to be an alpha and be a leader, right? But you got to have your own little unique competitiveness to you.
Yeah, for sure. And, as you're going around and you're thinking about how your staff is going to build the roster, I get a ton of questions. What the hell is going on in college hockey right now? Like, holy crap. And it's your first year, getting paid in college hockey, but you obviously, as the GM of a USHL team, were heavily involved in the recruiting process of the kids that were on your team. What's the vibe? Like you're sitting in USHL camps right now, and I still keep in touch with a lot of guys in college. There's been so many changes over the past couple of years. And one of the things I've been saying is like, any one of these changes that have happened in college hockey would cause a seismic shift. But then you look at, there's been 3 crazy changes in the last couple of years between the transfer portal and now major junior kids being able to come down and the NIL money. So like, what's the vibe that you're hearing from the rinks being in there, just about all the changes and everything that's going on, just as college hockey as a whole?
Yeah, and I think there's obviously mixed dialogue on all 3 of those topics, your discussion, right? And I think the hard part is about a lot of them is there's not a lot of data to study. I'm a big analytics guy. I'm a guy that likes information. And when talking about these 3 things, like, there's not a large sample size. It's a lot of projecting, right? Projecting what translate here, projecting the money, projecting everything, right? So I think it's kind of everyone's best guess of where this heads next and the impact it has. Which for my brain is extremely frustrating, not to have something to study and analyze. But that's the reality, right? We're in a new age and a new world, and we're going to know a lot more about these 3 things in a couple of years on where things head.
Yeah, for sure. And you guys over the past little bit here have been bringing in some kids from the CHL, some big names. And I know I feel like every time I talk to a college assistant coach, they're somewhere in Canada, in watching some major junior games. How much of an effect has that had on the recruiting process for you guys? And, we got a lot of Americans that are a little worried right now, let's just say. Just being at the USA Hockey Conference last week and just, still talking to a lot of people in the game, like it's a shift that's going to affect USA Hockey and affect Hockey Canada too in a lot of different ways. And so talk a little bit about just kind of how you've seen that shift and how college hockey, I know you said it's, we're going to see there's going to be even more changes coming through, but like just that specific one, because you guys have been really active with it.
Yeah, and I think there's obviously a lot of noise around the CHL commitments right now, but I think people kind of forget that's because a lot of the USHL players have had commitments for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Like they've been with their programs and committed to their programs already. So I think when you reference like college guys spending a lot of time in CHL, it's because that's the players that were kind of open and available, right? Now I think as you move into next year, there'll be more uncommitted kids now in the USHL, and it'll be more North American scouting, right? Like I obviously have a ton of respect for the USHL, and it'll be interesting to see the trends. I know for North Dakota, like we have a lot of history with Western Canadians. So along with our normal USHL framework, getting up there will be important. And I think everyone will handle it a little bit differently. I think, will it be a little bit harder to play college hockey in the short term? Yeah, I don't think there's any lying or way you can phrase that. I think it will be more difficult. I think the hope is of where college hockey is growing is that there'll be more programs pop up and continue to kind of evolve that way, where there's more spots for guys to find homes, because I think with how big the player pool is, there's definitely an opportunity to do so.
Yeah. And again, like for especially the kids that are like 18, 19, 20, growing up in the States or even up in Canada that had dreams of playing college hockey, it's harder. It's harder. The player pool just got a lot bigger. But there's, again, how are you going to choose to see it? Are you, man, like it's me against the world now, and it's just too hard. Or, hey, you know what? I just need to be better. I need to be better, and I got to work harder, and I got to find a way. And, there's still the same amount of spots in college hockey that are open. and if you want it bad enough and you work hard enough and you focus on the things that you can control, there's nothing that say that you can't outcompete the talent pool that just came in. And a lot will remain to be seen, but I do think that there are going to be a lot of kids out there, and there's going to be a lot of parents that are going to play the poor me card, and they're not going to make it. And it's, it's just outside my control, and, it is what it is. And then there's going to be other kids and other parents who are like, no, focus on what you can control. And yeah, it's going to be a little bit harder, but it's going to make me better. And they're actually going to go further in their career now that they've had to sack up and kind of do it a little bit harder. And so everything is how you see it. There's an objective situation, then you choose to interpret it. You choose to see it in the way that either is going to help you or hurt you. And that's just my message to everybody that I've been talking to is like, yeah, you know what? You're right. It is going to be a little bit harder now. The talent pool is a lot bigger, but that doesn't mean like that should motivate you. It shouldn't make you take a step back.
For sure. And I think there's also like a lot of really good college recruiters that I've dealt with in the past. Like, they know what an 18-year-old null guy looks like going to the USHL as a 19-year-old rookie, right? They know that path and what it looks like in 5 years. They have data that supports, hey, if a guy's on this trajectory, I know he's going to be a good college player at 22, right? So like there is a lot of value in, knowing that path for those kids that were already committed to the college path of just, at the end of the day, there's data to support that if you're on that trajectory, you're going to be a good college player at 22, and that doesn't change how many players are available.
Yeah, 100%. So you're at North Dakota now. I got the opportunity to work at my alma mater. So go back to Cornell as a coach after I was done playing there. And man, dude, there's like nothing better than coming back. And the place is a little bit different, but still, the feelings are the same. The smell of the rink's the same, the identity and all that kind of stuff that you were talking about is the same. What is the thing that you're most excited about being back?
I think just going to the rink on like a normal work day. And obviously I'll be on the road a lot, but just, walking in there on a Monday morning when the lights are off and getting to kind of be a part of that is actually what gets me the most fired up. Like I've been to the games as a fan. I've played the rink. Like, I guess I not as fired up for that, which sounds crazy, but just getting to be in that rink on a Monday morning gets me fired up, which maybe means I got something wrong with me, but that's what I'm most excited about.
If you can't get fired up walking into that rink, you are dead. You have no heartbeat. You're like, hey, honey, I'm going to the rink. She's like, it's 2:30 a.m. Yeah. Have you seen that place? Of course I'd rather be there.
Yeah, no. So that just excited to be, and I think it'll be fun for my family and the community. My wife went to North Dakota as well. And just for her and my little daughter to go to games and kind of be a part of that small community of a university campus is exciting for me as well.
And listeners, if you guys haven't seen the YouTube video of North Dakota's facility, when this podcast ends, maybe even pause this right now and go, well, no, don't ruin our ratings. Listen to the whole show, then go to YouTube, type in North Dakota hockey facility. I've watched that video a billion times. Like, I'm just like, this is what I want to build for my guys at a training center in the future. It is immaculate. It's amazing. It's so well thought out. So that's what we're talking about here. Seriously, if you have not watched it, go watch it. Meow.
Yeah, you would appreciate, as I was kind of doing with the staff, kind of some of our initial visits, walking around the weight room, like I'm having a tough time learning it all because there's just so much. We'll walk up to a certain machine and I have a tough time kind of remembering what each machine does. So I got lots to learn when it comes to the facility.
Toast right there with you. He gets lost in the gym.
Shut up, Vex. You know what?
It's all right. I can't spell. It's cool, man.
Nobody does selling better than Shopify. Shopify is the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret, with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts go abandoned and way more sales going through. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period for 3 months at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
The secret is out. With millions of younger-looking customers across the country, Plexiderm is one of the most highly sought-after products on the market. It visibly shrinks under eye bags and smooths out crow's feet in minutes, and the effects last up to 10 hours. Influencers love it, magazines feature it, and people just can't get enough of it. As a matter of fact, Elle Magazine gave it an Editor's Choice Award as Best Instant Wrinkle Filler for 2025. In as little as 10 minutes, Plexiderm reduces the appearance of fine lines, wrinkles, and those dreaded under-eye bags. So yes, you can look years younger in minutes, and the effects last for hours. No surgery, no gimmicks, just results. The best news, you can try Plexiderm for only $14.95. Plus, get free shipping. Don't wait. Order Plexiderm today. Visit plexiderm.com/special. That's plexiderm.com/special. Paid for by Sheer Science.
You know what is cool though? You talk about like your little daughter going to the game. So I was out of Cornell before I had kids, but I had all 3 of my kids when I was working in Michigan a couple years ago. And it is so cool to watch your kids like become a fan of the team that you're working for. And especially for you as an alum there, that's got to be even equally cool. And you said your wife went there too. Like I'm excited for you for that. How old is your daughter?
18 months. So
okay.
I don't have parenting figured out. I'm still learning that too.
Oh, buddy, I don't have it figured out either. Don't worry. Like that never changes. But like, it was really cool. So I think my kids at the time were like 5, 3, and 1-ish, my 3 girls. And like my 5-year-old like still wears Michigan stuff all over the place. Like she is still a fan. And like when NAR calls, she's like, is Coach Brandon on the phone? Like, can I say hi? Like it's so cool to watch them fall in love with something that you're in love with. And for you as an alum, that's got to be something you're really looking forward to, is to kind of build your family there and just really get immersed back in the culture, which changes. Like it's a lot different as a staff member or a coach than it is as a player. You just see the campus and you see the town in such a different way. And have you noticed that at all? Like that's something I noticed a lot going back to Cornell. It was just like, wow, there's so many things that I didn't know. And there's so many people that I didn't know they did all these things. And that you just have a much greater appreciation for how the sausage is made. You know, as a player, you're just kind of like, things just happen, you know, and but then you see it and it's just so much more to it. Are you looking forward to that? And have you seen that already?
Yeah, without a doubt. Just all the people, even from like the athletic department side and the rink side, and I guess just everything that goes into college athletics, seeing it kind of behind the curtain has been a little overwhelming, but also very unique and kind of exactly what you said. You didn't see it that way as a player.
Yeah. There's so much that goes on. It's insane. Oh man. Well, I got one more question for you, and it kind of ties together a lot of kind of what we've been talking about, just about the program, especially. And Vex and I, when we get the opportunity to talk hockey with people, one of the things we always like to ask about is identity. We're so big on identity and how important that is. Just understanding who your team is, understanding how important the buy-in to that identity is to having a winning and championship program. So, for North Dakota, like I said earlier, I have this view of kind of what North Dakota is, but from the inside, and now as somebody that's going in to recruit and kind of helping to build that identity with the coaching staff, what do you see as North Dakota's identity when you guys are at your best, and year after year, you're on par to win a national championship?
Yeah, and I think I probably am repeating myself a little bit, but just, in chatting with Dane Jackson and his kind of philosophy, like when we sat down and chat about kind of our identity, it starts with, the people and how we are away from the rink, as I talked about, having a lot of fun. We're in the lounge. We can be having fun, playing ping pong, laughs, having the time of our lives. But when we get in that weight room and when we get on that ice, like, it's hard and we're going to grind and we're going to challenge each other and we're going to do whatever it takes to have success. And then, after, it's back to being buddies with everyone, right? But just that competitiveness of flipping the switch and getting a little bit nutty, I think is what I think of North Dakota identity. And I think Coach Jackson kind of shares that vision.
I love that. I love that so much. Hey, Vex, like we talk, like every championship team that I've been a part of, whether it was a player or coach, practices were harder than the games. Like there was a bit of a psycho-ness to the group, that like you were going to pound each other, man. Like I'll never forget my first day at Cornell. It was like a little captain skate. It was the first day that we got there, and we weren't even supposed to skate, but the boys wanted to skate. And I'm sitting there on the bench and I'm watching, it's almost like a rugby scrum in the corner by the Zamboni doors, and guys just getting after it and almost fights. And I'm like, this is the first day that I'm here, and this is like, but I was all in. I was like, oh, I love it. I'm going to fit in great here. You talk about like can you talk a little bit about that, of like, even going back to yourself as a player, what were practices like in North Dakota back in the day when you guys were winning your titles, national championship, in it every year? Were the practices similar, where it was almost like a freaking war in practice and it was hard to match that intensity for anybody that came into the Ralph as an opponent?
Yeah, there was definitely some old school there. Definitely some old school stuff we get after, especially, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Like, it'd be hard. And, if you had a game at the end, like, there'd be vicious slashes and guys challenging each other and in your face. Like that's what it was, right? And I guess since I'm not a coach, I don't know where practices are at now. I stay out of that a lot of the time. But I think we certainly embraced it, that group. And getting off the ice, if you go to our apartments, there were holes in the walls and dents near the Xbox, and that's what it's kind of how we rode back then.
That competitive spirit, man, I love it. Well, the last thing I want to ask you, one of the biggest things that I think is really special and unique about college hockey is tradition. And it's something that I know a lot of coaches in college hockey talk about. We certainly did a lot, and that was leaving the place better than you found it, and we wouldn't have these expectations of winning these championships had it not been for the group of guys that came through before us, and their blood and sacrifice and sweat and tears and all that kind of stuff. North Dakota, when you look at it, is one of the top schools in the country when it comes to tradition. Winning championships, sending players to the NHL, and everything you kind of defined as successful when it comes to college hockey. Can you just speak a little bit to how important that tradition is, and carrying that on and making sure the program continues to live on the values of what North Dakota was built upon for years and years and years before he even got there?
Yeah, and I wish I could just play this video that they have at the Ralph, and it kind of has the old school video and talks exactly what you just said of, appreciating with the people that built this for us kind of thing, right? I think that's the coolest part about North Dakota with all the tradition. And the coolest thing as a player was having, older guys like TJ Oshie or Matt Green with the LA Kings, or, just era after era, letting you know that they're following the team and how much they're invested and how much they're rooting for you. And if there's anything they could do, coming to chat with you or whatever, like that's the coolest part of college hockey, right? Those bonds and how the eras can kind of meld together. And that's something we're very fortunate about. We have a lot of alumni that are very invested and very a part of every single season. So I'm excited to have a lot of those guys back in our rink and hopefully talking to our guys. And it's a really neat part of it all.
Yeah, I can imagine, man. So cool. And one of those guys you mentioned, TJ Oshie, Vex, I met him at your house. Like way back in the day at our Memorial Day party. He was having a good time, man. This is what, 20 years ago or something like that. He was 15 years ago, maybe. I'll distinctly remember this because I think he was playing for the Blues at the time. And he walked in, he had a Charlie Conway Mighty Duck shirt on. And I was like, he's a dude. This guy's a dude.
Legend.
Yeah,
did you play with him? Did you cross paths with him?
No, Osh is older than me and I don't know him too well, but just everyone you talk to seems to really, he just makes an impact on everyone he kind of talks to. And I think another guy that embodies kind of that identity of flipping a switch when he steps on the sheet. So for sure, special guy.
And just retired, man. That's a hell of a freaking career that he had. And it was so cool to see all those social media posts that came out of his shootout winners against the Russia. That, man, I remember watching that just chills. And you had, as an alum, you were probably watching that just like, this is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, I think it might've been a Saturday morning when we had a game that night. We were all watching it. I think, don't quote me on that though, but it was pretty cool.
Unreal, man. Unreal. Well, Bryn, thank you so much for taking some time. You're a busy guy and you're on the circuit right now. So we appreciate you taking some time to sit here and chat with us. This was awesome. We're going to hold you for another couple minutes to do 10 questions. That'll be in our Hockey Think Tank community. But man, so happy for you. Best of luck with everything with the start there at your alma mater. You're going to crush it. You're already crushing it. But I'm sure you can't wait for October, that puck to drop, and looking forward to seeing how it goes.
No, appreciate it, guys. And thanks for having me on.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.